know I love that organic cooking. I always ask for more. And they call me Mr. Natural, on down to the health food store. I only eat good sea salt, white sugar don't touch my lips. And my friends is always begging me to take them on macrobiotic trips.
Welcome back to
Yes,
Pagitt Radio.
are.
We're joined by our natural health coach, Shelley Pagitt, who brings with us a tip. Every week that she's on, it's a little tip jar. That if you write each one of these down and you put them in your tip jar, by the end of the year, you're going to be a new person. You're going to be newly made.
Right. You got to do more than write them down and put them in a tip jar. You actually have to practice a few of them.
Oh,
it's an added step.
Well, boy, that adds a lot. There's a lot to the recipe.
I'm feeling good about steps. So I just read an article in the local, like Twin Cities, federal. What is it called? TCNFC, Twin Cities. Federal co-op, whatever it is. And so they were talking about breast health, and I thought
breast health?
Breast, yeah.
Huh.
Breast health. And basically the idea is in our kind of traditional Western medical way of looking at our bodies, and particularly like women's, breast health, and probably more and more with men as the man boob community grows. But anyway, we won't enter that realm. That we look at it as, okay, we're going to go in and get a mammogram, and the mammogram is going to detect something that's not supposed to be there. But there's very little done, and then we do something very invasive usually to try to, combat, whatever. And so hardly anybody's really looking at prevention and what's supportive and what's healthy. And so I read through this little article, and I was super pleased that I do all of the items on the list very naturally. So I think that doing that preventive supportive stuff is a good thing.
And what kinds of healthful natural health options do they provide for people?
Well, they were talking like first and foremost to keep a good weight, because when women are overweight, or men as well, the fat in our bodies is where the estrogen is stored, and higher levels of estrogens translate to more frequency of cancer.
Really? Huh.
And so keeping a good natural, a good body weight, and then exercising regularly, not drinking alcohol was a really big. I didn't actually know that was a correlate, a direct correlation between getting cancer and not getting cancer. So
this is just all nothing but bad news for the sidekick here.
Well, yeah, but for me it was good, because it's just it's stuff that I've learned and incorporated. But drinking less than one alcoholic beverage a week, and then eating certain kinds of food. I was sitting there eating my most favorite thing in the world right now, which is what I had last night. Could you remember what I was eating last night?
You were eating a kale salad.
I was, and I made it again today.
And not only did you eat a kale salad, but you ate a kale salad over about 2.5 hours.
Yes.
I mean, it was like you were at the state fair in our house, walking around with this kale salad in that container. And I didn't say a word, by the way. I'm not expecting credit for that, but I didn't say a word.
Like every few minutes, was she going, this salad is delicious.
Like, how could you still be eating that? It's like
we have to give
the everlasting gobstopper.
Listen, we have to give a little bit of the backstory. So we were taking care of 3 young children, friends' children.
Yes.
All while I was trying to eat. I hadn't eaten anything since, a little bit of soup and salad that afternoon for lunch, and I was hungry. And each mouthful is a lot to chew when you're talking about chewing kale.
Yeah. But we should add too that I ate an entire half pizza in that period of time.
Doug didn't have any problems.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it seemed to be a very chewy cud.
Oh, it's so good. So I just made it and ate it again. It's massaged kale salad. If anybody wants to look it up online, there's a really awesome, fun video to go with it.
There's a fun video on YouTube about kale salad?
Yeah, there's a woman who her name is Cynthia Lair. I think it's Lair. She is a really good, she writes cookbooks, and she was typically, I think, vegetarian, but always whole food oriented. So she, I have to sneeze, so hang on.
Well, and are you sure you mean the word fun? You sure that word means what you think it means?
No, because her videos are really fun, because it's called Cook. We've talked about this before. It's called Cook Us Interrupt Us.
We have?
Yeah, because you're like, that
sounds
like
that was
something
me and
else.
you?
Yes.
Huh.
you just don't remember, but Cucus interruptus, and so she makes these videos that are showing how to actually make the food, but then she has this grown son, grown daughter, and husband that always like come in and they create this ridiculous scenario that they're interrupting her while she's cooking, and it's actually it's really funny. It's good.
And what is it about that kale salad that would lead someone to breast health?
Because it's about eating dark leafy vegetables, and kale is obviously one of the darkest leafiest, and usually we don't recommend eating I wouldn't recommend eating a leafy thing like kale or chard or mustard greens or collard greens raw. Oh. Usually you want to steam them because then that releases more of the good nutrients and it's a little easier to digest.
Now, and that's a bit of a change for people who've listened over the last couple of years to the natural health tips, that normally it's eat the food uncooked.
No.
That the cooking takes the nutrients away, but now you're suggesting light steaming releases them in this particular product.
Yeah, I would have said that before, too. In this family of vegetables, the cruciferous vegetables and the dark leafy greens.
Good, because I was looking for a segue between massaged kale salad and breast health.
Because John hasn't heard a thing since you started talking about breast health.
Because John...
I know. We all know.
John.
Would that be true? Would the steaming and releasing the health qualities be true of broccoli?
Yes.
Because I know there's a lot of people who think you're supposed to eat the broccoli raw.
No, that's why it's so disgusting. I mean, whoever brings one of those broccoli, cauliflower, raw veggie, platters to something.
I like those. Yeah, and you dip them in the little.
It's so disgusting.
Ranch dressing.
Amen.
But if you lightly steam it and make the color dark, rich, and green, you don't get gas from it. It's easier to digest, and the more the nutrients are available. But there's a lot of food. Actually, my tip today is eat 50% raw, at least. And with spring coming on and summer coming on, it's easier to eat more raw in the summertime than it is in the wintertime. So certain vegetables are better cooking them or steaming them a little bit.
And steaming something takes it out of the raw category.
Heating it above 108 degrees does. So, yes, usually steaming it is then not raw.
How if someone were going to take this advice for their general health or for their breast health for eating raw, what do you suggest that people do in order to do that? Because most places you go, the foods that you're going to buy anywhere, people cook it for you, and that's part of how they validate selling it to you. Right.
Well, I think that if you look at it 50% over the course of the day. So you look at what meals you're in charge of, which, I believe that we're in charge of every meal that we eat. So depending on where you go and if you're an out-to-eater like you are and how you order it, there's always, salad bars, and there's always
out-to-eater you.
Jeez.
There's always raw food options. You just have to pick them. So if you, have a small amount of the protein in the midst of, let's say like a Caesar salad, or...
So order the steak rare.
If it's organic or grass-fed, sure. Then you've got the middle part that's still maybe a little raw.
Ooh, I don't like it that way.
Yeah, you do.
I like it medium raw.
That's not what you used to do in the days of prime rib eating.
Oh, I do like prime rib raw.
Disgusting.
Yeah.
Look at that. Even back then, I still didn't eat any of that stuff. So gross to me. But anyway.
Yeah, you don't care for meat.
Not that kind. So yeah, I think eating 50% raw and making sure that you're getting raw nuts and seeds and fruits and vegetables in your salad and incorporating them. So the massage kale salad is you massage it with sea salt, and then you squeeze like the extra kind of liquid out. It squeezes like the bitters out of it, so that kind of, it doesn't cook it. It's still raw, but it gets it to the state where it can be assimilated into our bodies and used as nutrition.
Well, could you put that recipe up on the ShelleyPagitt.com website for people?
Sure.
And maybe we'll shoot a little video of it.
Sure.
And I will interrupt you.
Yes. Sure. We could do it right here in our kitchen. We could make another version of Cucus interruptus massaged kale salad. Actually, if you put in massaged kale salad into Google, I think the first thing that comes up is this video.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's awesome. So anyway, my tip is to eat more raw foods and to try to work them into your regular eating rhythms. So look for them when you go out to eat. Or like, let's say somebody goes to eat at Subway, or something like that, or, whatever.
Jimmy John's.
Or Jimmy John's, wherever. So when you do that, obviously if you get meat on there, cheese on there, whatever, that's going to be cooked. But then you can load the vegetables on there. I would say don't put the cheese on, load the vegetables on, and then, if you can get as many of those on there as possible, then you've got maybe 25 or 30% of that meal is raw. And so just think about it over time and know that every decision can be a better or a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be all or nothing.
And why is it that you say that in the summer it's easier to eat that way? Because there's just more produce available? Is that
there's more produce available, and I think in the winter we're cold, and our body is just...
Some of us are cold in the spring in this state.
Yeah, our body's just really begging for more fat, which is, traditionally what people were eating, more animal foods, more dairy and meat and stuff in the wintertime. And then as spring came along, traditionally the growing season was over. A lot of the animals had been eaten, and you're kind of down to not eating a ton more, maybe leftover root vegetables and stuff. So the springtime is a time traditionally of lean eating, and in the summer the bounty comes back with all of the raw foods. And so you just want it more. Like, I juice a lot more in the summer, or I might, have
would
a
that
smoothie
count?
for breakfast.
So would juicing something count for the half of your diet per day that you want to eat?
Yeah, juicing is all raw. So if I have a juice for breakfast, an apple for a snack, a salad, or whatever for lunch,
you're gonna be starving by dinner.
No, I've eaten all raw. Like, not if I put like an egg or nuts or seeds. Like, it's just.
Oh, I was kidding.
And then you eat your dinner, a regular, reasonable dinner. Yeah.
Well, natural health coach Shelley Pagitt, you can find her over at shelleypagitt.com, where she's going to put up the recipe for that little massage kale salad. Her favorite.
And I just did post something too about our community cleanse that just finished up last week for Easter.
That a bunch of people did a cleanse at the same time.
And it was awesome.
Yes, and now they're cleaner on the inside.
And having had a deeper community experience with one another.
Well, that's natural health coach Shelley Pagitt. You can find all of her information that she talks about here, as well as other places, over there at shelleypagitt.com. That's with an E. And as my son now spells our last name, P as in pterodactyl, A as in isle, G as in gnome, I as in irk, T as in tsunami, T as in tsunami. shelleypagitt.com. Isn't that hilarious?
That kid ought to be president one day.
Bye.
Natural health coach Shelley Pagitt. You can find her at shelleypagitt.com. A link for her over at the Facebook page at Doug Pagitt Radio on Facebook, and you can follow along on the show over there as well. Send your comments, your guest information suggestions to us over there at DougPagittRadio.com as well. This is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota. We'll be back here after the break for Hour 2.